If anyone is out there, please help. I already called the cops. They think I'm making this up. I'm hiding in my mom's closet, so it won't get me. If I tell you what it is, don't laugh. My dad, who is a truck driver, always brings me back a stuffed animal from long trips. This time he got me one of those long-armed monkey things, the ones that wrap around you. He said this way it can give me a hug for him when he's gone. Right when I got it, I knew it was weird. It kind of creeped me out. No matter where I went, its eyes followed me, like one of those paintings in a museum. I didn't want to say anything because I knew he meant well. He loves me and hates having me gone for so long. At first, it was only its eyes that would follow me, but as time went on, it got worse. Soon, if I left it in a room and went away, when I came back, it would be in a different spot. I put it in a drawer overnight once, and the next morning when I woke up, it was at the foot of my bed. I asked my dad where he got it. He said he didn't know. It was some roadside shop he had never seen before. There were no signs of anything. He stopped for some gas and took a walk around. That's when he noticed it. All he could say was that the place reeked of incense. Still, they had some interesting stuff, and he picked it up thinking I would like it. I've told my mom about the weird stuff going on. She thinks it's my overactive imagination. Like when I used to believe that there were monsters in my closet or that Slenderman was real. So maybe I listened to too many creepypastas for a young kid. Doesn't mean I don't know what is real or not. I am older now. I think I would know if a stuffed animal was trying to strangle me in my sleep or not. She says I'm upset, growing up and Dad isn't around. That's not it either. This isn't attention seeking. It's real. Before bed, I put it with my teddies. Just as I fell asleep, I thought I heard it whisper, "I'm always watching you." So I threw it into the closet and quickly shut the door. Next thing I knew, I'm waking up and I feel the soft plush fabric of its arms slowly wrap around my neck. I couldn't move. I was so scared. It must have felt my breath quicken, because then it said, "Shh, you're gonna be sleeping for a long time, princess." By this time, I was quietly sobbing. Honestly, I almost let it happen. I froze in fear and didn't know what to do. Then I saw the picture of my dad and remembered what he always told me to do if I was attacked. Bite, kick, and run. The stupid monkey's arms were around my neck and started to squeeze. It was close enough to bite. My teeth sank into his cloth arm. I didn't know if a stuffed animal had any feeling, but it yelled and called me names my mom says I can't repeat. That was enough to get free. Next, I grabbed my school bag and the scissors inside, stabbed it one time in the eye, but it twisted free and took the scissors with. It chased me around the room for a bit until I ran it down into my mom's room and hid in the closet. That's where I am now. My mom makes me put my phone in here so I don't sneak onto the internet before bed. I'm glad she did so I can send this out. Unfortunately, my mom is down the hall in the shower. I live in an old farmhouse off of State Highway 71 in Oklahoma. There are no neighbors nearby for help. If you hear this, please help me. I'm scared and I can hear that dumb monkey making its way towards the bathroom.
Mom, why are you always packing last minute? You're always going to these conventions. My mom was rushing around the room, throwing items into her bags as I sat patiently at the edge of her bed. As she scurried around, she started spewing comments my direction. Nika, the babysitter will be here soon. Remember, I'll be back tomorrow. I got it, Mom, I interrupted. And make sure she knows where Lucia's medicine is. Mom, I know. Now go or you're going to be late, I said as I followed my mother down the hall. And don't forget to, Mom, I got this. I'm 10. If I need help, I'll call or I'll ask Clover. Here, don't forget your jacket. I grabbed her coat from the closet in the hall. Thanks, Nika, but go, I practically shouted. Okay, dear, I love you. I love you too, Mom, I said quickly as she closed the door. I sighed in relief. I thought she'd never leave. I walked toward the kitchen. Lucia, you need to take your medication before 7. Come and find me, Lucia said playfully. Not the time. Come here now. Fine, she said as she stomped her feet. Lucia sulked down the stairs. You're no fun. Yeah, I know. Come on. Entering the kitchen, I went over to the medicine cupboard. Lucia sat patiently at the kitchen table. Here it is. I opened the container and shook 2 pills into my palm. Turning around to hand my sister the pills, she had decided to play her game of hide and seek. This isn't the time, Lucia. You need to take these, I said, placing the pills on the table. Then I decided to take part in Lucia's game. Lucia, where are you? And where's that babysitter when you need her? Speak of the devil, I quickly skipped towards the door. Hey guys, best babysitter in the house! Alex, I exclaimed as a sigh of relief left my mouth. Finally, can you help me find Lucia? Lucia, come here, Alex called. Lucia quickly rushed from upstairs into Alex's arms. Don't give your sister a tough time, okay? Alex scolded her. Okay. When Alex hugged Lucia, I noticed she was wearing long sleeves. That's weird. No one wears long sleeves in the middle of summer, I thought. Clover, come here and give me a hug, Alex yelled. The sound of a door quickly opening could be heard from the upper level. Fast footsteps pounded on the stairs. A girl emerged from the stairway, revealing a moody, skinny-looking teen with raven black hair that covered one eye. She had earbuds in and a phone in hand. Clover quickly walked over to Alex. Without making eye contact, she gave Alex a hug and proceeded to walk back upstairs. I don't deserve eye contact or at least a smile, Clover. Clover quickly glanced at Alex and flashed a smile before walking upstairs and shutting the door. It's gotten that bad. Ever since Dad left us a few months ago, that's the best she's done. She doesn't even eat. Clover barely eats, and Lucia gets episodes of depression. She doesn't even play in the woods like she used to. Never even leaves the house. I can relate. My mom died about 6 months ago. Me and my dad are taking it pretty hard. I'm so sorry, I said sympathetically. Alex sighed. Even though it's hard, we're getting through it, though my dad is taking it harder than most. So, how about you? I'm good, I guess, I responded. Well, that's good. Oh, after dinner, I have a few presents for you three. That's awesome! Lucia chimed in. Say thank you, Lucia. Thanks, Alex. Lucia quickly squeezed Alex before running off to play with her toys. So, how is your mom? Alex asked. She's good, just trying to get over the situation. I mean, a relationship of about 10 years, just to drop it, it's hard to get over. Well, let's hope she doesn't become abusive, Alex whispered. I thought that an odd thing to say, but let it go. As Alex finished putting up her coat, I walked over to the kitchen to attempt to give Lucia her pills. Looking at the empty table, it had seemed she had already taken her pills. What's for dinner, Nika? I believe it's just macaroni and cheese, I responded. In a matter of moments, a meal was prepared. Boom. A modern dinner, I proudly stated. That's right, monster, Alex said, patting my head. Lucia, Clover, dinner. The sound of hungry Lucia stormed down the stairs. She rushed over to claim a seat at the dinner table. Slowly and a surely manner, Clover followed. Alex served the macaroni and everyone gulped it up. Afterwards, Alex said, "All right now, everyone sit in the living room while I get your gifts." The three of us quickly cleared our bowls and sat quietly in the living room. Alex walked over to us with her hands behind her back. She stopped in front of Clover. Alex raised 2 fists in front of my sister. "You have to choose one." Without giving her decision much thought, Clover lifted her finger and pointed to the right hand. With a swift motion, Alex grabbed Clover's wrists. With no hesitation, she opened her left hand to reveal a razor? Then Alex slid the razor across Clover's wrists. Me and Lucia sat in shock as blood dripped onto the carpet. "Now that you've seen your blood, you're cured." A sadistic look flashed across her face. "You won't feel pain anymore." Alex continued as she slashed at Clover's wrists. Clover struggled and screamed. Quickly, Lucia ran at Alex to try to free our sister. Alex just pushed her off and cut her face in the process. In a flash, I grabbed Lucia and ran upstairs. A scream followed the pounding of my footsteps. We ran into Lucia's room and locked the door. After a few moments, the screams suddenly stopped. The slight creaking of pressure on the stairs could be heard. Lucia and I sat there, hyperventilating. "You don't understand, Danica. You're all infected with pain and suffering. The only cure is to inflict it on yourself, to see your blood. At least that's what my dad says. Then you'll feel better. I feel better. Many people do." I glanced around the room to look for some sort of escape. My eyes fell on my sister's window. I crept over and opened the window slowly. Peering down to try to see what was in the darkness, all I could see was a dark mass. I assumed it was some sort of shrubbery. Turning toward my sister, tears welded in her eyes. I lifted a finger to my lips. I quietly crouched over to her. Grabbing her hand, I led her over to the window. "Now, I'm going to jump, and then I'll catch you," I whispered into her ear. "I love you, Lucia." I gave her a hug before leaning out the windowsill. I jumped into the bush. "Okay, Lucia, jump," I whispered loudly. Lucia climbed over the window ledge, but before she could jump, Alex wrapped her arms around her waist and pulled her back inside. Screaming followed. I ran away from the window to see what she was doing. When I looked up, nothing was visible. I ran to the front door, shaking the handle, struggling to get inside. Quickly realizing the door was locked, I searched for an entrance. The window, I thought. I grabbed a rock and threw it at the window left of the door. The glass shattered with no resistance. I punched out the remaining shards and crawled inside. Glass cut my arms and legs as I hit the floor. "Clover!" I rushed over to the living room. My sister was barely clinging to life. How does no one hear any of this? I lifted her onto the couch and ran to the kitchen. Towels, towels. I could barely breathe. Lucia and Alex were nowhere to be found, and Clover was dying. I searched the kitchen cabinets, finally coming across towels. I bolted over to Clover, wrapping the cloths around her wrists. Her breathing had slowed. "Come on, Clover, don't leave me." I checked her neck for a pulse. Nothing. Crap! I attempted CPR, but it was no use. I sprinted outside towards my neighbor's house. I banged on the door for at least 5 minutes. "What?" an older man yelled. He swung open the door. "My sister is dead!" I burst into tears. "My babysitter, Alex, killed her! You have to help me!" The man stood in shock. "What did she say?" a woman asked. "Honey, call the police." With no hesitation, the cops were called and an investigation was launched. The paramedics found Clover lifeless. They attempted CPR one last time, and after a few moments, she was breathing. With the evidence left, Lucia and Alex were nowhere to be found. My mother returned home as soon as she could. The police didn't expect this from a babysitter as popular as Alex. Everyone knew her and didn't think anything was wrong. "She seemed fine," they all said. While questioning her father, he denied the abuse. Being a small town, the police couldn't do much. They searched the woods and came up empty. Me and my mom moved about 2 years later. The stories of my sisters became famous, and a lot of people showed their support. They found Alex at a train station leaving town a few months after we moved. The police interrogated Alex for about 18 hours. All she could say was, "Lucia ran from me. I don't know where she is." After that, she was sent to a mental hospital. With nothing to go on, they estimated Lucia was dead. I still look in the forest for any sign of her, and every time I come up empty-handed.
Ever since I was a little girl, I had always wanted to live out in the country. White picket fences, fresh air, friendly neighbors, and plenty of room to move was in stark contrast to what I'd always known. The city where I lived was drab and dreary. Everyone was rude. The air was choked with smog, and every time I did venture out, people just bumped into me. I work in the agriculture field. It was a dream come true when my job relocated me to a small town in the outskirts of New Jersey. When I first arrived, early Sunday afternoon, the scene just took my breath away. It was how I imagined. Everyone's grass was neatly trimmed. All the houses had little fences around them, and the room, the room. Even though it looked like much of the town was out and walking around, there was so much space. I squealed with delight when I caught out of my car and noticed there was a farmer's market. It was just down the road from me. I took a deep breath of the fresh, clean air and walked down to the market to see what they had. Unpacking could wait till later. When I reached my destination, a guy named Frank met me. He was tall, slender build, hawkish nose, piercing brown eyes, kindled with a subtle flame. He introduced himself and told me he was a farmer. A giggle escaped me when I thought of Farmer Frank. It was cute. I told him I was new in town. He offered to show me around. We had a bit of a chat, and I found out he was in his late 20s, single, and ran one of the larger farms around. I definitely made sure to mention that I was single too, in the hopes that he would pick that up. It was a little frustrating when he seemed not to. After a brief yet entertaining tour, he bid me farewell. On my way back to the house, this elderly woman grabbed my arm. I was taken back by such brash behavior. I yelped. Her fingers raked like claws across my arm. Maybe this is the local crazy, I thought to myself, as I reached to detach her hooks from me. I didn't want to make a scene on my first day. You know how word gets around in a place like this. Everyone knows everyone, and I didn't want to be the person known for beating up an old woman. "Stay away from my Frank," she hissed at me. "He's mine, all mine. I won't share him again." Finally, her grip loosened a bit, and I was able to break free. On my heels, I made a beeline for my door, got in, and locked it. Alone, in my empty living room, I peeked out the window, and the old lady was gone, lost in the crowd making its way to the market. breathed a sigh of relief, and then went to look around my place. It's quaint, but that's what I wanted. All the usual things are there: bedroom on top with a lavish master bath, kitchen, living room, and a second bathroom on the ground floor, along with my study. The walls are stark white, but that could easily be changed. I busied myself unpacking and arranging things for the rest of the day, completely forgetting about the old lady. But not Frank. Oh no, I couldn't forget about him. That night, he came to me in a dream, his brown hair neatly combed to one side, his manly beard trimmed to a point, his cloven hooves freshly polished. Wait, what? Cloven hooves? Must have been my subconscious telling me what an animal he was. We were out in a field of flowers. Before me laid a crisp white linen sheet spread with so many foods: artesian breads, cold cuts, cheese, and blueberries in a small basket laid in front of me. In a wicker carrier was a bottle of wine. Frank offered me his hand, and I sat next to him. Without a word, he held food up for me to sample. After a few bites, he poured the wine and handed me a glass. Oh, I took a sip and my palate was transported to another place. Hints of berry, spice, leather caressed my tongue, followed by a beautiful full oak finish. I'm a bit of a wine snob, I'll admit it. Next, he gently placed a berry in between my lips, teasing me with its plump flesh. I hadn't even had a chance to fully take it in when he followed it with a kiss. And that's when my blasted alarm went off, ripping me from the most romance I've had in ages. I got up, cursing my luck and more than a little annoyed that I hadn't been able to get to the good part of my dream. The rest of the day I was cranky. I'm sure more than one man in town steered clear of me because of my glares. Things were pretty normal after that for a bit. It was about a week later when I was on business. I had to go out to Frank's farm. Leeds Acres was the name of his establishment. Frank was out front, waiting to greet me. "Hello," he said in his deep tenor voice, which sent chills through my spine, causing my face to blush. "Hi back at ya," I replied with flirty finger guns. He was wearing a flannel shirt tucked into some tight Wranglers. Couldn't help but to glance down at his booted feet. They looked normal enough. Maybe a bit wider than most other people's, but I wasn't about to complain about that. Still, I guess he could have hidden cloven feet in there. We walked around his farm while I took soil samples. My job entails me to test the dirt and find out what fertilizers would be best suited for his crops. A couple hours later, along with some light flirting and intriguing dialogue, I found myself back at my car. "Oh, I've got something for you," he said, and ran back to his house. A moment later, he returned with a small basket in his hands. A little welcome gift. I opened it up, not having any clue what it might be. "Blueberries! My favorite!" I exclaimed. He responded, "I know. I asked around. I never told anyone in town I love blueberries, but it didn't matter. He'd been asking about me. That's all that I cared about. Thank you. I'll think of you as I eat them tonight." "Well, I was thinking we could eat them together. Bring them by my place tonight, say around 7, he asked. "Oh, 7? Suddenly I felt a little out of place. "Sure, 7 it is." "Great. See you then," he said as he helped me into my car and shut the door. When I got home, I found that same old lady. She was snooping around my house. Part of me thought I should just drive to the police for help, but I would feel terrible if I put an old lady in jail. She was looking through my windows and would try my door handles. I sighed and hoped that it wouldn't get ugly. As I exited the car, I took a deep breath in preparation. "Can I help you?" I asked in a polite tone. "You sure as hell can't," the old hag responded. "What you can do is leave my Frank alone. He doesn't want you. He wants me. I don't know how he acts in your dreams, but he's mine first." With that, she came for me, her hands flayed in the air as if she were trying to claw my eyes. In her old age, she wasn't very strong at all. "Mom, stop harassing the woman," a young boy called out. He couldn't be much more than 12 years old. "I'm so sorry. She hasn't taken her medication today. Don't pay her no mind. She says crazy things like this when she forgets her meds." The boy collected her and hauled her off, her hands still waving in a threatening manner. "I'll kill you! I'll kill you!" She continued to screech until she was finally out of hearing range. It wasn't until I started to get ready that I calmed down and got into my zone. Lipstick, a little subtle shade of red, bold but not too daring. A blouse that exhibited my ample bosom, just a bit of a tease, not too revealing. A tight skirt to flatter my curves, and a pair of heels to add to the mystery of me. I was all set to catch me a man. I arrived at 7:10 to make sure he was waiting for me and knocked on the door, and he answered in exactly what he had been wearing earlier. My heart dropped. I was all set to slay, and this was just a business meeting to him. As I entered, I could hear other people talking. I felt like such a fool. He brought me in and introduced me to Mandy and Mike, other local farmers. This wasn't a date. It was a meet and greet. I placed the blueberries on the kitchen counter and made my pleasantries. Dinner was delicious, which made me even more angry. We should be having this feast alone, together, not with Mr. and Mrs. Farmer forget their names. I'm sure Mandy could feel the daggers I was shooting her and her husband all night long. Eventually, though, we finished our meals and they made their goodbyes. Frank saw them to the door while I finished my glass of wine. "Sorry about that," he said when he returned. "They stopped by unexpectedly. It would have been rude to send them away. Gotta be a good neighbor." I faked that I understood. "Excuse me for a second," he said. "I want to get into something more comfortable before we get to dessert." With that, he hurried up the stairs. If he thinks he's getting any of this for dessert, he is clearly mistaken, I thought to myself. My jaw dropped when I saw him. His brown hair was neatly combed to one side. Beard was shaped to a point. He wore a red button-down shirt with 2 buttons undone, exposing a portion of his well-chiseled chest. Khakis on his legs trimmed him very nicely. Oh, he was devilishly handsome. "So, how about those blueberries?" he asked, with a mischievous grin. "I got some cream in the fridge," he says, as he swaggered off. It'd become difficult to look at him. He came back with 2 bowls and the cream. My eyes couldn't even meet his. My face was so flushed. He put the blueberries into the bowl and then the cream. Oh, I almost forgot the dessert wine. Removing the cork, he poured some into a crystal glass and offered it to me. "To new adventures," he toasted. The clink of our glass chimed in unison. I took a sip. It was just like the wine from my dream. He continued to talk about this and that as we ate our dessert. His voice was so hypnotic. I soon found myself under his spell. Before I knew it, we were on his carpet in front of the fireplace, laughing. Light touches were being exchanged. Then he took a blueberry to my lips and caressed them with it. Before I could open my mouth to take it in, he followed it with a kiss. It was delectable. The taste of the wine and berries mixed between us. His strong arms wrapped around me as my heart quickened with excitement. My hands traveled across his broad back. His muscles rippled underneath his shirt like wings trying to break free. His forked tail brushed my leg ever so gently, sending shivers through my body. It was a night of passion like I had never had before. That was 7 months ago, of course. My belly is now swollen with his child, and that bastard won't return any of my calls. I swear, the way this baby kicks, oh, it's gonna be the devil. It's causing me so much stress. My hair has begun to turn gray, and I'm wrinkled up like an old woman. What was supposed to be a dream has turned into a nightmare. I got fired from my job, lost my house. I live in a little shack now with no picket fence. No one talks to me anymore, and I rarely go outside looking the way I do. Oh, I'd forgive him, though, if he'd take me back. He's my sweet Frank, after all. The only reason I'm telling you this is so you know that he's mine. And if any of you bitches touch him, I'll rip your eyes out.
Thank you for watching. We'll always have room for you here when you visit. To keep up on great content like this, like, subscribe, and please share. Have a nice day.